All right, so we're going to be continuing on with our model in Revit. And if you're using a desktop version, you should still be able to follow along pretty easily. Revit is pretty much Revit, so there's not really too much difference between the 2021 version and 2022 version. Maybe a few colors here and there. But other from that, it's pretty much the same. All right, so as soon as this loads up and get started here, I wish I had loaded it before, but that's all right. Okay. Okay, so we left off with our model by putting in the walls, the doors, the windows, the floor, the appliances, and the last thing we did was built the kitchen, which was task number 4. And that was a big one, so I gave you a little bit more time to actually do that one. And then after this, we'll put our roof on. We'll change the exterior walls to actual exterior wall material. So that's going to be one of the first things that we do. All right, so I'm going to maximize my screen here. I'm hoping that it'll still record once I do this, just to get a little bit more screen room out of it, out of this laptop. I don't know if that half-inch really made a quarter-inch really made that much of a difference. So hopefully it's not going to cut my recording off. All right, so one of the first things we're going to do is change our exterior walls to actual look like exterior walls. And a couple of them we're going to have to split. In fact, this one particular one here, we're going to have to split it. So it's going to be individual from running all the way through the whole building right here. So that's going to be one of our first things we're going to do right here is we're going to go to modify. And we're going to do split with gap, which is this one. And the reason I'm doing that, I'm going to put 2 of them in there, in fact. And I'm going to erase the one in the middle by hitting delete. All right, so there's a reason why I did that. One of the reasons is because if I leave these 2 walls joined together, even with a gap, they will still act as though they are all one wall. So I'm just kind of put this one here, even it out as much as possible. Yeah, that'll work for that. And I think that's the only one we really got to split. The rest of them are all kind of standing by themselves, so we don't have to really worry about those. All right, so I'm just going to pick one of my walls here. And it's probably generic 5 or generic 6, depending upon what you were doing. And then we're going to edit the type. And then we're going to duplicate it. All right, so this is going to be our exterior wall. And I like to use all capital letters. And we're going to hit OK. All right, so after that, we're going to do edit. And then we're going to add some layers to this wall. So right now we just have a structure. It's just a basic wall. And for the category, we're just going to add a little bit to it. So we're going to, well, actually change the category first. So we're just going to change it to metal stud layer. It can be wood too, but we're just going to use what's already the default. It's in the system. And we're just going to hit OK for that. And we're going to change the size of this from 5 to 5.5. And the reason that we're changing it to 5.5 because the exterior walls are 2x6s, but theoretically a 2x4 and a 2x6 are not actually a 2x4 or a 2x6. They're actually 1.5 by 3.5 and 1.5 by 5.5. So they're not theoretically 2x4s and 2x6s. That's just a quick way of referencing those size pieces of lumber. All right, so next we're going to do some inserts here. So we're going to click on this middle layer here and do some inserts. I'm going to do a couple of them on the top. And we're going to do one beneath this. So we're going to do insert. It's probably going to put it up top, but we're going to move it down. So we're going to click on this one and then just click on the down button and put it below the metal stud layer. So we'll start from the bottom and work our way to the top. All right, so the bottom one represents the interior side of the wall. So we're going to change this to gypsum board, which is just another name for drywall. And we're not going to really mess with anything over here. We don't really need to, because it's not really going to be showing that much anyway. Later on down the road, if you want to go through and change something, you could. I wouldn't mess with the pattern, because once you put the pattern on, it's going to put it on everything. Same thing with the background. If you want to choose a render color, you can, but I typically don't. Or I don't really mess with the pattern or anything like that with this particular one. So I'm just going to hit OK for it. And then I'm going to set the size to 1/2 inch. So it's going to be 1/2 inch of drywall. Now, make sure that you do it with behind the 0 with the inch sign, because if you don't, 1/2 in terms of architecture sometimes usually means 6 inches, so it'll do 1/2 foot. So we already got our metal stud. All right. Oh, we also need to change this. So it's going to be a finished layer 1. All right. The only thing that's going to be structural is going to be this metal stud layer. Everything else is going to be a substrate or a finish. All right. So next, on top of that, we're going to put our wall sheathing. And we'll just type in plywood sheathing. We'll just start typing in plywood. We'll hit OK. This is going to be a substrate. And the size is going to be, and we're going to go with 5/8. All right, so next on top of that, this one's also going to be a membrane. This particular one's going to be a membrane layer. So it's theoretically not really have any size to it, but it's going to be what's called a vapor barrier. All right, it don't really have size to it, but we're going to give it size. So we're going to give it 0.10 or 1/16. We'll just do 1/16. Hopefully it'll accept that. All right, so basically it's like when you see a house under construction and you see that plastic wrap that's on the side of the house and it says Tyvek. That's basically what that is. All right. In some cases you can do an air gap, but I typically don't really put the air gap in there. All right, so our last one is going to be another finish. We'll just do finish 2. I'm not sure what the difference between finish 1 and finish 2 are. They're just always been there. I'm pretty sure that's some type of scientific method for that. Okay, so now we're to our exterior siding of the wall. Now this is the tricky part of this thing, because there's just different types of wood that can be used. So I'm just gonna type in wood and pick one. So definitely we're not going to use cabinet or countertop. So hopefully you have clad white in your system. So that's probably the one we've been using the most in the last few years, because it's kind of versatile and we can kind of change it. and which will be our next step. We're actually going to change it. All right, so we're going to come over here and we're going to go to the appearance tab. And typically, oh, there we go. On the information, let's see. So it's got ivory, flat. Let me check the graphics here. That one should actually give me an option to choose something different. And it didn't. So let me try something else. I'm not sure why that one didn't. I'll try a different wood. Now this one did. I'm not sure why the other one didn't. So let me go back to it real quick and see what it does. Because it didn't give me an image for it either. But, well, you know what? Let's see what it looks like first before we count it out. We can always go back and change it. All right, so we'll hit OK. And I'm going to give it a thickness of 1. It's probably not going to be that thick, but we'll just go ahead and give it 1. And we're going to hit OK. All right, so we got it requires 0 thickness. So the membrane does actually require 0. So we're just going to backspace this and give it 0. This is how I thought it might do. All right, we'll hit OK. All right, so now we're going to put this setting at the bottom here on fine so we can see all the layers of our wall. I'm going to take a look at it in 3D real quick to see did it actually do anything besides just kind of change it. All right, so it didn't really do anything to it. And it's on shaded and it's on fine. So yeah, it didn't do anything to that one. It still pretty much looks the same. It may look different in the rendering, but all right, so we're going to change that. We're going to edit type. We'll go back to structure. So on this clad whiting, on this clad, we're just going to use a different material here. Let's see. I don't think you all have that. So we're going to go with wall material. And we're actually going to pick something ourselves. So we're going to click on right here on this little swatch, or right below it on the words, and it's going to open up a new menu. Now, in Nutanix, unfortunately, we can't see the thumbnails of any of the things that we need to see. So we're going to kind of scroll through and find what we're looking for. And once I find which one it is, I'll let you know. I don't know if we want to put oak on the exterior of the house. There we go, wood boards. That one will work. So let's see what that looks like. Oh, that's not bad at all. Kind of give it a rustic look. All right, so we're gonna go with that one. So which is the wood boards. So you go to click on that and then go to woods carpentry, plastics, finish, carpentry, wood boards, and then that'll be the one. Hopefully everybody has that particular one in their library. All right, so we're just gonna do apply. We're going to come back over here to graphics, and we're going to click on use render appearance and hit apply again. And there's a reason why I did that, because if you don't click on that, when you just like on a normal screen, you don't actually see it. All right, so I'm going to hit OK. Hit OK again, hit apply, hit OK, and let's hope that it did what it was supposed to have done. And it still looks gray. Let me make sure my wall's not flipped to the wrong side. No, it's not. But I'm not sure why it's not changing. Oh, I know why it's not changing. It doesn't have any lines in it. All right, so let's go with this one. And we're going to scroll down and change our background and foreground. Okay, so I'm going to go with some horizontal lines here, the large ones. So that one for my foreground. I'm going to do the same thing for the background. Yeah, you would think it would come with that already, but it doesn't. All right, so we're going to do apply. And appearance. That actually will look good if it actually showed up, but I'm not sure why it's not showing up. All right, so we'll hit OK. Hit OK again, apply. Then let's see what it show up this time. It is still not showing up. So we're not going to stay stuck on that. So what we're going to do is go ahead and match our exterior wall. So we'll go back and figure out why the lines aren't showing up here in a little while. All right, so what I want you to do is match your exterior. So we'll do it from the top view. That way you don't miss any. All right, so you're going to go to modify, match type. You'll select your host and you'll come around and you'll select all of your exterior walls. All right. And this particular one, I'm going to close this corner up here. I got a bit of an error. So I'm just going to kind of close this up manually. All right, so not sure why the walls aren't showing up. Typically at this point they do. Yeah, normally the material and everything kind of shows up, but it may be a graphics correct thing on here where it's not showing up. So we'll put it on fine just to see what it does. But yeah, we'll try coarse and see what it does. All right, so coarse didn't do anything. I like it changed it to a lighter shade of gray, but it didn't really show up the way I thought it would. Just like the concrete should show up, so should the wall. All right, so let me give it one more try. And then if that don't work out, we may just go ahead and use break. I'll tell you what, let's use softwood lumber. See how that works. And This one we can actually just leave it the way it is. We don't have to pick anything else out of here. All right, but what we will do is actually add the lines to it on the graphics. So foreground, we'll use horizontal lines. Background, same thing. And hit apply. And let's see how that does. Well, it changed the color, that's for sure. I need to put any lines on it. I didn't put any lines, but at least change the color. So we're halfway there on that one. Okay, so let's move on. Let's see how much time we on. We spent enough time on that already. All right, so next step, we're just going to put the roof on. So that'll be our last step for task number 5. So we're going to go to level 2. Now, level 2, you should see a silhouette of your building, and it should be grayed out. But don't go to ceiling level 2 on the ceiling plane, on the ceiling plan level. Do it on the floor plan level, which is that one. All right, so we're going to architecture, roof, and we're going to hit the drop down, and we're going to choose wood rafter, 8-inch asphalt shingles, insulated. We're going to change our overhang right here to a foot. So if you hit 1 and enter, it should do well. All right, and we're just going to go around and select our walls. Now here in this spot, we're not going to select it in there because we want the porch to be covered. So we're just going to select this one first, and then we're going to close it up using the trim tool. All right, so next step is just to change the roof pitch from a 9 to, let's go with a 5. That should be good enough. I don't want to make it too steep. It's not a big house. It's only no super tall roof pitch. All right. And our last step is that we're going to take out define slope on this line and this line. And the reason for that is we're going to make a gable roof on it. All right, so we're going to hit OK with the check mark. Do we want to attach the top? I'm going to tell it don't detach, and I'm going to tell you the reason why for that. If you attach it, the problem is that the interior walls will attach to the roof also. So we don't want the interior walls to attach to the roof. We only want the exterior. All right, so to close this gap up right here and right here, what we're going to do is click on the wall and click on attach top base and then select the roof. And what it'll do, it'll close up that gap in there. Same thing on this side. Don't forget about that side. All right. Okay, so we got our roof in, and it's over the porch. So I did say it was going to be our last thing, but one more. We're going to put in a column post. We're going to put at least one in right there because it looks kind of silly if the roof's kind of hanging by itself. All right, so architecture column. Hit the drop down, choose our architectural. And we're going to choose the 24 by 24, but we're going to edit it and then duplicate it. And then we're going to call it 6 by 6. And we hit OK. So that means we're just simply going to change the depth to 6 and the width to 6. And we're going to change the material. Hopefully this one will change. So we use softwood lumber, and I'm going to use a darker color for it, something contrasting. And foreground, I'm going to use like a wood pattern on it. I'll use wood one. Same thing on that one. Hit OK. Hit apply. Okay. Hit OK. And we're just going to put this little column post about right here in the corner. It's not going to be exactly on the corner because it needs room for the column post to hold up the roof. So it needs some concrete around it. All right, so let's see what it looks like in 3D. Oh, well, now the pattern shows up, but it shows up on the wrong thing. Interesting. You know what? That's actually not bad. I think we're going to leave it. Yeah, not sure why the other pattern wasn't showing up, but that's actually not a bad look. So we're just going to kind of leave that there. All right, so let's quickly go to our east elevation. And we're going to put in a vent. So we're going to go to architecture, window, and low family. Go down to windows. And we're going to find window louvered vent. Unfortunately, we got to click through all of these. Oh, there it is. All right. This one, you got to kind of eyeball it. So we're going to put it about right there. And then we're going to flip it to the west elevation and do the same thing. So window, it should keep the same one. We'll put it about right there. All right. And I think that was about it. That's not it. We need to change this. So right here in this spot, to fill in that little gap, I'm going to show you what a gap is. It has one right above the porch. Oh, we also need to attach this wall right here to the roof. But you know what? We could probably leave it like that without having to fill this in. I think we might be able to get away with it. But you know what? Just so you know how to do this. On the west elevation, we're going to take, not that one, this wall. And we're going to do an edit profile. The downfall with doing that is going to remove everything. So you know what? I'm not even going to do it. It's going to remove that. Typically, if we should have did the edit profile before we put that vent in. So I'm not going to do it. So normally I edit the profile and I'll fill this in. So that almost it. So I'm going to show you a different way of doing it. So I'm going to level 2. And I'm going to take this regular wall, line it up with that one. If you get an error, that's not that big of a deal. So we'll see what it does. And I don't think I went the right direction with that. Oh, yes, I did. All right. So we're going to change the offset of this to negative. So the wall is 6 feet tall. So let's go with, oh, it's got a base offset of 3. It shouldn't have a base offset at all. It should be 0. And it's overlapping a little bit. So let's go to west. And that'd be the reason why we got the error. It was overlapping a little bit. It shouldn't be. All right. So now this is a good chance to show you how to do the edit profile. So you take the wall, edit profile, and you're gonna basically just create your own profile of the wall. And you're gonna erase or delete any extra lines that you don't need. So in this case, I'm going to trim it right here. I'm going to trim it right there. And then these other 2 purple lines here, I'm going to delete them. And then it's going to leave a profile there to fill in that space. All right, so even though it's gray, I'm going to match it. So I'm going to modify, match type, select the host. Then I'm going to select that piece. Then that changes it to what the rest of them look like. So in the end, that's what that looks like. All right, so last thing, I want you to do a screenshot of this one. I do want you to redo another screenshot of your level 1 on task number 3 to show the room tags. Some of you did and some of you didn't. So I do want you to show that so I can actually see your room tags. All right, so we have 35 minutes. So that's enough for this particular task. All right. Go ahead and complete this one. That'll be task number 5.